So my name is Lynn. Just to give you a quick introduction, I I'm part of LinkedIn's talent acquisition team. So before January 2020, I was a recruiter. So I basically do recruitment. And since January 2020 until now, I've actually moved on to another specialized role within talent acquisition, looking at employer branding and marketing to attract people to join LinkedIn. So what I'm going to share with you here is going to be about tips that I didn't know before I became a recruiter. So a recruiter was not my first job. I was doing more policy work, business development and things like that, has got nothing to do with recruitment. And then when I became a recruiter, I realized that there are so many other tips that as a recruiter now I see and understand that previously I've never thought about. And so it has been something I've always wanted to do, to actually share with people actually how recruiters think and how recruiters look out for job applicants, so as to help you as a job seeker. So that's what we're going to focus on today. All right. So any questions, similarly, pop it in the chat. We will have a Q&A section at the end as well. Great. So I'm going to start. Okay. So as an introduction, on LinkedIn platform itself, there can be two ways a recruiter will reach out for an opportunity. So one is they search for you, not search for you, but they search for, let's say, marketing professionals, and they find your profile. And then they can reach out to you via email. So this is a example where I got an email from a recruiter, from somebody else in Singapore. And then they basically, email messages are private messages, right? That allow you to contact anyone on LinkedIn without an introduction or contact information. So the recruiter can just send it to your inbox. Another way recruiters can reach out to you. Oops. Sorry, what happened there? Tech issues. Give me a while. Let me navigate to the slide. There we go. Bear with me. Resume slideshow. Okay, perfect. Yeah, another way recruiters sort of reach out to you for opportunities is actually through job ads. So I know typically we don't want to receive any ads. It's usually more troublesome than anything. But if you are actively looking for a job, you would want to know what are the relevant opportunities out there. So my goal today is to help increase the probability of you receiving either of these. All right? So if we go on to the next slide. Okay, so this is an example of how recruiters search and push out targeted job ads. So this is what a recruiter see at the back end of the LinkedIn Recruiter tool. So there are many filters that we can use to receive a better and more relevant pool of candidates. So these are some key searches by recruiters, right? Like typically recruiters will search by location. So more than 30% of them will use location. So you've gone through the session with Thibault. It's important to put that you are based in Singapore at the moment. Companies, so more than 40% of recruiters are using current company to find candidates. So you should keep your profile as updated as possible. Industries as well. So recruiters also do rely on industry information to find candidates. So here's a special tip for you on using how it impacts you. So keywords, you see that I box up the word, the keyword section here, is actually used by recruiters quite widely. So the main message to you here is that your profile and your job summary should include details on what you do. So for example, if you are an accountant or a marketing professional, if you just put the job title and the company without any details, maybe I'm looking for someone with social media marketing experience, or I'm looking for someone with SEM experience, search engine marketing experience. If those keywords are not in your title, if I search for keyword SEM, your profile doesn't come up, which is why a profile and job summary of 40 words or more makes it more likely to show up in searches. One word of caution, don't spam keywords. If you add a lot of keywords in there without it meaning very much, when the recruiter views your profile, they won't look into it very deeply because it's just a mess of keywords. So have a think about what you do, what are some of your achievements, and call those out in your profile, because the more your profile is filled, the more likely you are to come up in a search. Okay, so we're going to move into, I'm not sure what's happening here, but we will be moving into a poll. Whoops. Qiuting, sorry, are you navigating the slides? Qiuting, are you navigating the slides? Because I don't think I have control anymore.
Okay, hello back. So we are going to have a poll.
We were on the earlier slide, 58, right? Oh no, 59, we were on 59. So I think we can just go back to that first, and then we can do the poll.
Okay.
Sorry about the technical hiccup.
Yeah, okay. So I'm now controlling the slides. So would you like me to transfer it back to you?
You can start the poll. So we're going to
Okay.
do a quick poll and try and get your thoughts on this. Because of a technical hiccup, you might have taken a sneak peek, but it's okay. We can still go ahead with the poll.
Okay, the poll is up and we welcome participants to respond to it. Okay, responses are coming in.
Yeah, so you can make a guess when let's say recruiters do a search, right, of marketing managers in Singapore, how many profiles do you think comes up? So we have majority of people so far seems to be picking 10K, just a slight majority, and 58K comes close, and then 5K is the lowest. You can make a guess. Okay, maybe the last 5 seconds for people to put in their thoughts. Okay, all right, I think we can show the poll results. Okay, you see majority of you have picked 10K, as like 10,000 profiles probably come up. Actually, I've done this search in June 2020, so it's just 2 months ago, 3 months coming now. And the answer is actually 58,000. So if you think about that, Qiuting, can you transfer the control back over to me? Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
If you think about that, 58,000 profiles come out. It's huge. So, you know, like, how do recruiters prioritize that? Like, what is it that, you know, we look at? If I were to do a search and then I actually come up with 58,000 profiles, how do I continue? How do I prioritize? So that's what I'm going to cover next. When I do a search, we actually have this function called Spotlight. So at the back end, I can actually know out of the 58,000, how many actually were past applicants to my company. So let's say I work for FairPrice. I can see how many people actually applied to FairPrice before on LinkedIn, who are open to new opportunities, who are more likely to respond, who have engaged with our talent brand before and who have company connections. So here's some tips that we can give you to help you end up higher on the search. So follow the company pages, because engage with talent brand means you either follow the company page, you have liked or commented or shared on a company post, which is these first two tips. So you would actually come out here. And the reason why a recruiter would pick this part, saying that, okay, I would like to prioritize someone who has engaged with my talent brand, is because this person probably has a strong interest in the company, has showed that interest by following us, has a deeper interest in the company. And that's why I'm more likely to want to talk to this person. So engaging with the company is important. The third tip is to actually reach out to and connect with people in the company. So you can see here under the last spotlight, it's actually have company connections. You do know that referrals are actually quite a interesting and important way for people to actually get jobs. So if you have company connections, that also shows you might already have a community within the company. The last tip, I'm sure Thibaut has covered this, switch on your open to new opportunities. As a recruiter, I'm more likely to look into the profiles that say that I'm open to new opportunities rather than to reach out to people who are not, because it's time spent for me, right? If I reach out to 10 people who are open to new opportunities, chances of all 10 of them replying me is higher than if I reach out to 10 people who don't say that they are open. So that's also important if you want to inform others that you're looking out. Don't worry if you're currently in a role. As best as possible, the platform does not allow for people within your company to actually see that, which is why your company information also needs to be updated. Yeah, great. So I'm gonna go on to the next slide. So obviously, you saw earlier that even if, let's say, I look at people who are open to new opportunities, I still have 15,000 to look through. So how can you ensure that you end up on the first page of the search ranking? If you think about it, when you do a Google search, what are the chances of you looking into the third page or the fourth page or the fifth page of your Google search? Very unlikely, right? So I'm going to share with you some ways you can try and improve yourself such that your profile comes up in the first couple of pages. Firstly, updated positions. As long as your profile is updated and active, you're more likely to come up in the search. Skills. You are more discoverable if you list down the skills. Again, this should be true. Don't list them down just for the sake of it. Lastly, number of positions. So don't just list your current position. I'm sure some of you might have 10 years of experience. Some of you may have 5, but if you have more than one position, you should list them down. At least like the majority that are relevant, I guess, to what you're looking for as well. Okay. So I'm gonna move on to my last section, which are on some other tips that might be interesting for you beyond the LinkedIn profile, but beyond the LinkedIn platform, but just in general, like as a recruiter, what are some of the interesting tips that might help you? So LinkedIn members are actually 4 times more likely to get hired when you are referred. So here, whoops, not sure why this keeps happening. Give me a minute. So recruiters, I can show you the reality. We get anywhere between 50 to thousands of applications per job posting. So what does this mean for you? Whoa, sorry. Oh no, Chiu Ting, I may need your help. The slide actually disappeared for some reason. It's okay, I'll continue speaking while Chiu Ting, I may need your help to try and work out the slide bit. But basically, recruiters can get anywhere between 50 to thousands of applications, right? Referrals will help increase the probability that your profile will be viewed by the recruiter and not lost in the virtual pile of CVs. So when somebody is referred, typically most companies have a referral program that they will prioritize the referrals coming in. So this is where you should leverage your relationships. Send a message on LinkedIn to ask for a referral. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so while we walk through the deck, sorry about the slides issue. Another tip I would have for you is actually to apply early. So applying within the first 10 minutes of receiving a relevant job notification increases your chance of hearing back from the recruiter by up to 4 times. So this basically tells you that when you apply early, you get higher chance of hearing back. And I can tell you why. It's very easy. So when we post out a job, what recruiters typically do is we will start an active search on LinkedIn while we wait for applications to come in. We will usually wait a few days, right? Then myself and most recruiters that I talk to would review CVs in a chronological order. So first application, first in, will be the first application I will review. And because recruiters typically work on more than one role at any point in time. At LinkedIn, our recruiters work on average 10 to 12 roles at any one point in time. I do know of recruiters at other companies that work on volume roles, which is like 100 roles at one point in time. So because of that, once I have a few candidates in the pipeline that are reasonably good, I would probably stop reviewing the rest of the profiles. For example, if I review 20, 30 CVs and I find maybe 5 or 6 good profiles, I might not review the rest of the 70 that come in after that until I need to again. It's not because we don't want to give people chances, but it's more because if you think about the workload and just what any reasonable person might do to manage that, it's just really hard to go through every single application before we do that. It's always on an ongoing basis to try and fill the role as soon as possible. So that's the reality, which is why it's good to apply early or go through a referral. And I think my last tip for you is to tell a story. Your LinkedIn platform is the perfect place to do that. What do you want to achieve? What are you passionate about? If you want to embark on a career switch, like to go into a new area, what actions have you done to aim for it? The LinkedIn platform allows you to do all of this more than what your CV does. You have your summary, you can put in media. So let's say if you've started video editing, you've gone for video editing courses, you can put in videos that you've edited into your LinkedIn profile. If I'm looking for a video production person or a video editor, I can see the work that you've done. So it's a more interactive way for you to tell that story. In the summary, I always encourage people to talk a little bit more about your dreams and what you want, what you're passionate about, more about you as a person that is beyond what you've done and achieved, which is typically your CV. Cool, with that, I'm gonna end off. That's actually my last slide.